All right, let's go.
I love
Hi,
that,
Anya.
tourner. I love that.
It's good to have you back on our website.
Thank you.
It's an honor to meet you. I'm sorry for my French accent, which is quite strong.
No, it's beautiful.
Your French accent is way better than my French accent. So.
It's very nice to meet you. And
Nice to
first
meet
of all, I want to congratulate you because I was really looking forward to Split and I loved it, every piece of it. So.
Good, I'm so
Congrats.
glad.
And I must congratulate you for the way you played Kevin, which must be one of the most difficult characters to play.
Yeah, it was
in history.
challenging. Yeah, it was really, really challenging, and the whole group was challenging in different ways. Some of them were easier than others, but playing them all in one movie was the was the trick.
You've directed Split, but you also wrote the story.
Mm-hmm.
How did this idea of a man with 23 personalities first come to your mind?
From when I was in college, I was completely obsessed with this disorder, with the people that could be different personalities in the same body. I just find it super fascinating, and people don't believe it. It's a very controversial disorder. I believe it. I believe that it's a true thing, that people actually become different human beings and they share the same body. And this ability has come from an earlier trauma. So I over the years since I was in college, as they've learned and they've written papers on it, I've gotten to study and learn about it. It's very tragic and very, very inspiring how people have compensated and figured out how to survive in these circumstances.
So how did you create the story from the moment you've heard about this disorder until Split?
Wow, that's a complicated question. I'd say, the obsession with the disorder was since I was a kid. But the idea, I'm trying to remember when the idea, this was an older idea, probably like 15 years ago. I came up with maybe even 16 years ago, came up with the idea for the movie. And actually I wrote a bunch of it back then and never made it. And then now, that was the time I made it. But I always had this character in my head for the last 15 years, this Kevin Wendell Crumb. That's the name of the main character that James McAvoy plays.
How did you feel after you've read the script for Split for the first time, because it's a very unusual story?
It is, absolutely. I mean, I read it on a plane and I was just flipping through it so quickly. I was so along for the ride and I was so intrigued. I really didn't know where it was going to take me. And then as soon as it finished, I kind of took a second. I tried to download what had happened and then I read it again immediately, because I think as a script and as a film, it's something that you have a very different experience watching it again, because Night's done such a good job of littering information in very specific places that you don't understand until the very end of the movie. So watching it again, you understand all of the actions and all of the decisions with more intelligence in a way.
So do you want to tell the audience to pay attention to certain parts of the movie, or do you want them to have a first-time experience?
Well, I mean, something that I've been very touched by, and I think it's really representative of how much people love Night. The audience has been so respectful of the secrets of this film because they want to protect the integrity of the experience for all other movie lovers, which I think is beautiful. I mean, I would go into the movie completely, not expecting anything, completely blank, and just allow the film to take you where it's going to take you. That's how I love to experience movies, and I really hope other people like it that way too.
All right, I agree with you. No spoilers.
No spoilers.
M. Night Shyamalan wrote and directed Split, and he had the idea in mind for years and years. Mm-hmm. Did he let you create some aspects of Kevin's identities, or did he have a precise idea in mind?
He had very precise ideas, but yeah, no, you can't. I don't think. Yeah, even Yeah, I think an actor has to come in and own it, and has to add to it, and has to fill in the gaps that aren't there in the page. So yeah, that's why you hire an actor as well, to come and rehearse, and you're hiring them not just to say the words as they are on the page, but to make them live and make them breathe, and that's not just by pulling funny faces or whatever. Do you know what I mean? That is by owning it and forgetting that anybody ever wrote it, and by making it your own.
Did you invent some aspects of Kevin's identities? Are there precise things you created?
Yeah. I suppose Patricia, I gave her a kind of kinky, sort of almost sadistic sexuality that was jealous, I think, of the women in the room and what they had physically, as opposed to what she had physically, which was a man's body. But there was a kind of kinkiness to her that I imbued her with. I made Barry way more flamboyant, I think, than he was on the page. Hedwig, I sort of he should be really innocent and fun. But Knight was always very keen for that to be his prime directive and his prime job within the group. But for me, I wanted him to have a slightly malevolent and nasty streak, which I think he'd learned at the hands of the abuse that he'd suffered his entire life. Because I think he took the place of Kevin when Kevin was being physically abused. Kevin wouldn't remember that because Hedwig experienced it. And that's why he's in a state of arrested development. That's why he's never been allowed to grow up, because he's stuck in that place. He wants to kind of reclaim the childhood he never had. So he's very innocent and fun-loving and goofy, but he's also got a real nasty dark streak. So there was things that definitely I stuck in there, but that's the same as always on any script. You take what you're given and then you augment it. And sometimes you can put too much in there, but I think every character needs a little bit extra, I think.
Your character, Casey, is a very nuanced character, a young woman with a lot of strength and also some deep wounds. How did you embody such a delicate woman?
I think when I first took her on, something that I've got in common with all of my characters is that I love them. I'm fiercely protective, and they're so important to me. I've got a very intimate relationship with my characters. They're real people, and I heard Casey's voice in my head, and I knew I wanted to tell the story, but I think I deliberately kept it kind of away from me because I knew it would really affect me. And then we did the first read through, and I just went back to my room and I cried. I cried for hours. I was so devastated for her, and for 1 in 3 women, man, that's a crazy statistic. I couldn't quite wrap my head around it, and I tried to allow that to kind of lacerate every single movement that I did. You know, she doesn't just take off her jersey. It's weighted with so much pain and stress. And I hope I embodied something that unfortunately people have gone through with, I did it justice. I hope so.
I think you did.
Thank you.
I know you've met with doctors and psychiatrists to build Kevin's character and understand him better. Mm-hmm. Did something change from what you thought you knew about the disorder to what ended up being Kevin?
Yeah, when they described it as a disorder of hiding, I thought that was really powerful. So, if I have this disorder and then suddenly I just switch just now, right? I wouldn't know what's happening. So then I would go, there's a microphone, there's people, there's lights here, and you're waiting and everybody's silent. This guy has headphones on over here. And then I would like, could you repeat that? And then you'd ask the question again. I go, oh, I'm a filmmaker. She's asking me about this film, which I don't know what this is. And I would come up with some fake answer. I love films, and one of my favorites, what's a recent film? And then I would just talk my way out of it. It's a disorder of hiding. They don't want you to know that they've switched, like that. And I found that really fascinating, and so I put that in the movie.
Did you already have all personalities in mind, or did some of them come up while you were writing?
Some came up, but I did have there's 3 characters called the Horde in the movie, and those 3 characters I had for 15 years, and then each of the other ones started to come up. Barry and some of the other personalities, and Kevin Wendell Crumb himself started to emerge as I was writing him.
I wanted to talk to you about Patricia specifically. I found it very interesting the way you embodied a woman without using a wig or high-pitched voice. How did you find a way of portraying a woman without it being a caricature?
Thank you for saying it's not a caricature. I'm sure there's going to be people out there that do think it's a caricature. How did I don't know. I changed my voice a little bit. I tried to change my physicality so that it was more feminine, whatever that means. What femininity means to Patricia is what was important for me. And femininity to Tricia meant poise and grace and elegance. And class. So in her view, that was about being held and about being everything strong but delicate at the same time. That meant a kind of slight demureness, which was important to me. But also I felt like she was a holy woman, felt like she was a nun at some point in her life. And I think she's lost her faith in Christianity or whatever it was that she used to believe. And she now has this faith in this very dark, almost demonic religion that she's kind of, I think actually, she's kind of created herself. And she's created for Dennis and for Hedwig. But that holiness, that sanctity is still within her. That faith is still, that capacity to believe and have faith and to almost be religious in that faith and that belief. That was something I wanted her to have as well. So how did I play a woman? All those things really fed into her to make her feminine, I think, I hope.
Yeah, you did a great job. There's a lot of talk lately about female characters in fiction and how we can do better and add some diversity to women in movies.
Damn straight.
How do you feel about this issue? Do you think we are moving in the right direction?
I think so, but I also think when I first did The Witch, one of the main questions that I was asked was like, oh, are you getting, are the roles that you're being offered now like hot girl number one or the girlfriend? And I was like, no. Every script that I've read has been an incredibly complex and flawed human being. Like, women are human beings. We're all flawed. We're all multidimensional. We all, words. We are all multifaceted. And I love that. And I think the scripts are out there. It's up to now producers and directors to be brave enough to tell these stories because we're over one-dimensional characters. They're not real, and I think people are tired of being lied to.
In Sixth Sense, you showed us a kid with a special ability because he could see dead people. In Unbreakable, you showed us a man who couldn't be harmed. Do you see Kevin's disorder as a continuity in this thematic, even though it's not like supernatural, it's something
Grounded.
real?
I do. Yeah, the question, I guess, is, that I'm asking in the movie is if you believe this disorder that these individuals can be other identities, They changed the name of the disorder from multiple personalities to DID because they didn't want to use the word personalities, It's identities. So if you believe they can be all of these identities, what would happen if one of these individuals believed one of their identities was supernatural? What would happen then? That was kind of like the question I had.
How did you work with James McAvoy to build Kevin's character? How did you choose him for such a difficult role?
I guess the main thing attracted me was his craft, his elegance, and that he was, I didn't know him, but my perception of him was that he was a nice guy. And I wanted a nice guy to play the part. So that when he's doing these dark things, there's humanity there, and you can connect, and you weirdly kind of siding in with the different personalities, even though they're trying to do something dark at the time. And so he's perfect. You have to have somebody that's very courageous to play the part, and James is that actor. I mean, James might be the most courageous actor I've ever worked with. He's incredible, just dives into it.
I don't like scary movies, and I was afraid Split was going to be too scary because the trailer is a bit scary. So do you have something to say to people like me who are afraid?
For people who don't like scary movies?
Yes.
Tough. No, if you don't like scary movies, this movie has got way more than just scary movie. It is scary at times, but it's also very funny, and it's quite emotional at times, and it's exciting. It's a thriller as well as a scary film. So come and see it; you'll like it.
All right, thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.
I know you can't speak about Split's ending, and I can't speak about it either. I loved it a lot.
Thank you.
So can you tease it just a little bit to make people want to
Wow.
go
Okay.
see
Well, there's something very surprising that happens at the end of Split. It was. Here's what I can say about it. The whole idea was, can you watch a movie and feel satisfied if you felt it was this type of movie? You think you're watching this type of movie, and then at the end you realize you weren't watching that genre at all. You were watching this genre. Can you do that? So that was what was exciting me.
All right, so I was really satisfied, and I think a lot of people will be.
Thank you so much.
Just to finish, you're 20 years old, and you've got a career you can be really proud of.
Thanks.
And you've just been nominated for the EE Rising Star BAFTA Award.
So crazy. It's so wild.
Congrats. I
Thank
want to
you.
know what's next for you. What can we expect? for you?
Ooh, I've got 3 movies coming out this year. Yeah, I've shot 6 movies back to back, which I can't even believe how lucky I am to be doing this. It's so surreal. It happens so fast. But yeah, I've got 3 movies coming out, and I'm filming a lot this year. I really love what I do, and so I hope that I continue to work on projects that I love as much as I've loved the ones in the past, and hopefully, you know, creating experiences for people that they enjoy.
All right, I hope so as well. I hope
Thank
to see you
you.
again.
You've been a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank you.